What up, Blerd fam? Welcome back to an all new, all different episode of the BlerdCast. The podcast where black and creative meets nerdy and innovative. The blackest podcast in the multiverse. As always, I'm your host, Trey Harris, a.k.a. the pilot of the Millennial Falcon, Bando Calrissian, Sean John Luke Picard, Bucky with the good hair. I think that's my last a.k.a. Oh, Frankie Beverly and Mace Windu. And today, I've got a special guest with me. He's been a long-time fan. He's always commenting on the videos. Really, the reason that I'm even the nerdy man that I am today, so kind of like the grandfather to black and nerdy.
I say no, grandfather?
I mean,
the father of, well, okay, I guess the godfather of black and nerdy. Yes.
So yes, I am joined today by my pops, Todd P. Harris. You got any AKAs, Pop?
AKA the sound alchemist, Todd P. There you go.
Solid.
That is me.
Yes, this has been a long time coming.
Yes, it has. It has been a long time coming. I've watched the show and been very proud of what you're doing, and I like the format and what you're providing for us black and nerdy folks out there.
Yes,
because it's like we're like the dinosaurs or the dodo.
Yes, very. Or the mutants of the world, because.
I think it's cool. I think it's because it's a different format. Like I said, it's stuff that, a lot of people, it's one of those kind of things that, it's like, who's black and who's nerdy?
Mm-hmm.
That just, this, like, for some reason, it's, for us, it's like, that's something that doesn't happen. But yes, it does. We read comic books, we watch anime, we read manga, I play war games, all that stuff. So, it's like, I paint toy soldiers.
I was going to say,
Yeah. So, that's, so, you tell people that, it's like, everybody thinks that, oh, well, why does somebody... your age do that, especially somebody black. Well, why not? There's nothing that says it's exclusive to anybody. Mm-hmm. It's something that everybody does. So that's, like I said, that's why I like the show. I think it's very refreshing to see something with everything that is so negative in the world. Honestly, this is something refreshing to have on, as a podcast, because it's like, it gives other people selling hope.
Hope, my hope dealer. See, we was talking about that.
I've camera now, but like it gives people. I think it gives people a lot of a different perspective, and it's okay to be, it's okay to be that way. It's like there's nothing wrong with just say, hey, I like watching Marvel movies. Mm-hmm. I like DC. I like this. I like that kind of stuff, and I do. Because when I was growing up, we didn't have the kind of entertainment that this society has now. We had just comic books and things like that. And it's good to see that, comic books are still out, but we never had a format in which to discuss it, because it was just kind of one of those things that no matter what color you were, if you talk about that, you were a nerd, and that was just it. You were it was like you were a leper. But now it's one of those kind of things that, since everything's digital, and to me it's kind of like a lot of the newer generation are rediscovering something that we already knew. It's like, it's old for us, but it's new for other folks. But I think it's kind of cool to give, and especially, get a perspective from folks that have seen it when it first came out. Like I said, I'm only so many years old.
Yeah. But, I think you might want to enunciate that a bit more.
I'm old enough to know better.
Okay, so. Cool. Because you were born in 19...
Yeah, you see, we're going too far with things. Okay. But, again, it was like, but comic books have been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And, my father had comic books. And, he had comic books when they, really, really first came out. He had the very first Superman when it was Action Comics.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't have it anymore because like a lot of us kids at the time, and even after, parents throw things away. They just look at it as, this is something the kids are just reading. Oh, they aren't going to care about it. And little did I'm sure that his mother know that she was throwing away a $20,000 investment for all intents and purposes. So I've got first editions of the Micronauts, and it's I know what it is and the value of, because it's a first edition. So I've locked it away, and I've got a lot of first editions. Like I got the first editions of Dark Horse's Aliens.
Yeah.
So
Which is now owned by Marvel.
It's now owned by Marvel. Yeah. So now Marvel owns that franchise. So I've got the very first issue of that, and it's locked away. Yep. I mean, I had the very first Star Wars figures where you could only get them in the mail. And they came out with a special display for them. I had Luke, Darth Vader, Han Solo, Obi-Wan, all, the main core characters. I had the original ones. And guess what happened to them? My mother threw them away. So
it seems like the ongoing thing is the mothers.
The parents throw it away. It's like, why? Yes. Like, do you know how much money you just threw away there? It's like, that could have been college tuition.
Yes.
So, but it's one of those things. I mean, I can't say it now because you guys had Power Ranger.
Yes.
And I still have them in storage because you never know. One day you go on eBay or something, somebody is auctioning it off for 50, 60 grand. I mean, not to say that would ever happen, but you never know because somebody somewhere now they have this thing that's called, what is it, NT? What, I forgot what it's called. The NT. I forgot what it's called. It's like pictures or something.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Where you pay for the picture and you can sell it later.
It's like, what? And people are paying are paying top dollar for these things.
Yes.
It was the first picture, the very first picture of Michael Jordan, $10,000. What? A picture or it's like the very first Michael Jordan T-shirt. I forgot what the name is. It's acronymed, but I can't remember the acronym right now. And I'm just totally baffled by it, and I've not really gotten into it, but I'm just like, really? I mean, it's interesting how things have become collectible now, as opposed to normally it was, when you had a collectible, it was something physical you had in your hand. Now it's more like a digital whatever. It's something that's out there in the
cloud,
ether, in the cloud, and there's value to it. And I'm like, wow. I mean, it's. Not, again, I know I'm showing my age, but it's like, wow, 30 years ago, we never thought of something like that. But now it's very interesting. It's a very interesting dynamic. Everything is digital. I mean, it's, of course, video games are way different from when we just had Pong.
I was about to say, you just had...
And then that was, and we sat in front of the TV for hours.
This is groundbreaking. There's never been anything as great as this.
It'll never get better than this. Then, lo and behold, Activision came along and all that other stuff. So it progressed along. And now this stuff is now it's like 4K and HD and
60 frames per second.
Yeah, I'm like, we never thought of anything like that. I mean, I remember I had a Commodore 64 computer, and we were. Oof. So, and now we have computers on our wrists. So, it's amazing how things have come along. And I know I sound like an old person when I say it. And I've never thought, it's like, oh, I'm never saying that. But now I see the certain things that come along. It's like, wow. I mean, and just in the span of, say, 30 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm 50 plus years old. Mm. And it's amazing. It's amazing to see the certain things that have developed. Mm-hmm. From the time when I was, say, your age or and younger, and it's like it's fascinating. It's fascinating. So I just I look at it and hear it and see the things, and that's that. So I think it's real cool. I do things like now. I mean, like I said, I'm about to get a 3D printer. Whoever thought that you'd be able to just get something and then. You put a computer or a zip drive into a device, it goes, it records, it reads the image, and pow, say an hour later, you've got a product, and which I think that's really cool. Who would have ever thought that would be something that you could get at a store I'm just going to go to Walmart and buy a 3D printer. So, that's the thing I think is so amazing is that, able to do those kind of things and have those kind of things, like I said, 30 years ago, that was something that you were spending like thousands of dollars on. Yeah. And now you can just get it for $100. And that's the same thing like with computers and phones and everything else. I remember the first cell phone. which was brick. No, it was a bag. And we thought we were doing like, you got a cell phone. And it's a daggone piece of luggage. But we thought it was...
That carries cancer.
Yeah, that carries cancer. Cancer in a bag. But we just thought that was, oh, man, this is... And then it got the technology shrunk down further and further and further. I had the Nokia one that was still like a walkie-talkie, but it was still. But we thought that was because that was a big step from going from the bag to and then it's gotten smaller and smaller. I'm like, wow, now we got phones on our wrist, and we're like, oh, okay, that's Dick Tracy.
I was about to say, that's Dick Tracy.
And so now people are like, oh, and everybody sees it as a common day occurrence.
Yeah,
but. Like I said, for me, maybe 30 years ago, that's something in a comic book that'll never happen. I mean, we joke about things like, say, a phone in a shoe. Well,
not too far off.
Not too far off. I mean, but now it's like, well, we don't need a phone in a shoe because guess what? We got it on our wrist.
You can FaceTime people on your wrist now.
That's another thing, FaceTiming. Whoever thought? As far as, my generation, we never thought that we'd be on a phone. That was just something you saw in a movie.
Yep.
That you'd be able to see the person you're talking to on the phone. We'd say, oh, yeah, that'll never happen. Or it'll be, but now it's a reality. That's just something, we do meetings on Zoom TV, on Zoom and all that stuff. And I'm still trying to learn the whole Zoom technology. Because of my job, I've had to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
But it is amazing because, like I said, 30 years ago, we'd have never thought of that.
Yeah.
We didn't. It was like, oh, that's something. I'm still waiting on my flying car now. But
we're a ways off.
But it just depends on who you talk to. I'm sure there's. I think Tesla or somebody is working on something like that. So that's the thing. It's like the stuff that we thought was so far fetched.
Mm-hmm.
Is now commonplace, and it's like, okay, phone on your wrist,
right.
and so it would be. It's pretty interesting how I'm sure you talk to the generations before me. They would say, that was just something out of Flash Gordon or something like that. Right. Because imagine their generation, rockets didn't exist, and now then they're sending people to the moon, and all that stuff, and so now we have private. Companies going into space, because when I was growing up, it was all NASA.
Yep.
And that was the thing when I was little, again, showing how old I was, I saw the first man on the moon. I saw that.
Supposedly. Allegedly.
Allegedly, yes. And this conspiracy moment is brought But it's just, I saw that, and that inspired me, although I never followed through on it, but I honestly wanted to be an astronaut after that because I thought it would be so cool. And then after that, you got TV shows like Star Trek and all that stuff. So it's like, oh man, maybe I can be in that generation that has a Starship Enterprise.
Yeah.
Of course, you're 4 years old. You didn't think, a 4-year-old watching Star Trek is still something kind of.
Yeah.
So but that was it. I watched it as a 4-year-old, and and then when I saw the first man on the moon, I said, that's so cool. And everyone before my generation thought that would never happen. They had, there were people orbiting the Earth for a short period of time, but ever going to the moon and landing there, allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly.
And walking on the moon and coming back, that was a big thing. Now, everybody's now talking about, colonizing Mars.
Yeah.
That's the next thing. So will that happen in my lifetime? I don't know. Mm-hmm. But is it a possible reality? Yeah. If that one day somebody will come up with the technology where they can make space travel take as long and things like that, or if it does, they'll come up with the technology of suspended animation and all that stuff. Yeah. But that's the stuff that they're doing now. So that say maybe 20, 30 years from now, that will be the new reality. Yeah. There'll be a colony on some planet somewhere. Who's to say it may not be a colony on the moon? They'll start there as
Inhumans?
What about
Inhumans from...
exactly. So, those are the kind of things, and it's very interesting. I think it's so interesting, to look at it from that point of view. And everybody's like, oh, well, that's... But it's, again, everybody said the same thing about spaceflight in the first place. That's so... far gone, that's far-fetched. We'll never go, outside of our planet and blah. And here we are, Now, again, and so now the thing that I think is so interesting now is that now you have private companies getting into the space program, which is like, okay, that's cool, but then you go back to say you reading the comic books like Wayland Yutani.
Right.
It's like, okay, so it's like, so how far, then it's all about a bottom line. It's like, okay, what we can go out here and find and what do we sacrifice for our bottom line? Yeah. So, that's one of those kind of things. But, when I've heard that Elon Musk had SpaceX and now
Jeff Bezos
and the guy from Virgin, they're all, and I think it's an ego race. It's not so much a space race. Yeah. It's an ego race. It's like, who can be the first one to have a major, commercial space agency. So that's
question. If they offered you the ability, hey, we're offering tickets for anybody that wants to test the beta version of space travel through private commercial companies, would you take it?
No. Nope.
Why?
Nope. Don't trust it. Don't trust it. And again, it's one of those things. It's that, like I said, I'm not saying that all corporations are evil or anything like that, but they're willing to, they may cut corners in order to be the first. And that's the thing that that scares me. Well, we want to be the first. And you're rushing to be the first. You cut corners to be the first.
Yep.
So
have another Challenger issue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Challenger and the other one that for that burned up on reentry.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing I would like more of a. As much as I would be interested to do it, I wouldn't want to be the first one to test it.
Okay.
Like that's why they're called test pilots, and they get in and test it and take that risk. I don't want to be a test passenger. No, I'm not going to be a test. We want a test civilian to go see if this would work. No. It's like, as much as, that fascinates me, not so much that, it'd be like, let me risk life and limb, and I want to be the first person. I'm not that much of an explorer. Yes, like I said, I still have a fascination about space and and all that stuff. But, I'm not going to sit there and because, again, space is cold, it's dark, and it's deadly.
Yes.
So, there's all kinds of things that could happen out there. And, it's like, I'd rather that it be tested. I'm sure when they first came out with the car, it's like, here, try this horseless carriage that you have absolutely no control over.
Wait, it doesn't have any brakes. Brakes, that's what we need.
We need brakes. You know what? How to make it stop.
Right, I was about to say,
a lot of people actually died.
Yes, a lot of collisions. We should probably add something to stop this.
We want to make them stop. So, I don't want to be that test dummy.
Right.
It's like, you know what? Long-standing oxygen. I don't want to go out into space and suffocate.
It's like,
you know what? How can we recycle oxygen? Well, that's we didn't think about that. Oh, but in the meantime, I'm in, floating through space in my floating mausoleum. Thank you. Like, no, I'm not. But as much as that, the whole, space, the final frontier, and the exploration. As much as I love that, because that was the generation I grew up in.
Yeah.
I still know that it's a very dangerous process, and I would just, I would like to see the tried and tested. Outcomes of that. Everybody, the people that have gone before. That's why a lot of people that do that kind of stuff. I tip my hat to those kind of people. Mm-hmm. I just couldn't. I don't. As much as I like, that's really a scary prospect. You are leaving your planet to a place there's no air, and you're just out there. And if anything goes wrong, well,
nobody can help you.
Nobody can help you. Then So as much as I'm fascinated by space and space travel and all that stuff. I would like to see it be a tested process, and it's a safe process. I'm not gonna be the crash dummy. No, I'm not on that. No.
Yeah. So switching gears to your childhood, because you've talked about how you grew up on Star Trek.
Yep.
How back in the day, sure you guys had comics, but it wasn't as popular. Mm-hmm. What got you into comics?
What got me into comics?
And then secondly. To that question, what was your first comic book?
My first comic book. Oh my gosh, my first comic book was. You're asking me to pull up from this. It was Spider-Man. It was Spider-Man. It was Spider-Man,
same.
And I believe it was Spider-Man. I can't remember. I know he was going against Green Goblin.
Okay.
I can't remember what issue because he's always been going against Green Goblin. I can't. You're asking too much for which issue. That's. But that was, and what got me into comics was I would have to say the first thing that got me into it was the artwork.
Okay.
The artwork. I mean, I used to like to draw, and I still do to this extent. But it was something about the artwork and the whole theme of, these were people that had powers and that made, they were different from everybody else. Even though, and before, the caveat to the whole Spider-Man thing, that was before I became afraid of spiders.
Got bit by a spider. And you found a spider later.
It's like, see, then I wasn't afraid of spiders. When I first got into comic books, I wasn't afraid of spiders. They I don't even think they creep me out. It's just a bug. Then I had a run-in with a spider, and then it changed everything. So that was it. But
that's your origin story?
That's my origin story, yes. But I like Spider-Man, and I have to say, Spider-Man, if Spider-Man, I would say, actually, Spider-Man would be second. Batman was first.
Okay.
Batman was first because I just love Batman. I just like the Bat thing. He fought justice, fought injustice. And he was the Dark Knight,
yes,
and that really did something for me. And then plus, it was the comic book, and then of course back then they had the TV show. Now, the TV show was nothing like the comic.
No,
and,
Adam West.
The Adam West version. That was old men running around, or middle-aged men running around in tights, with a cape on, and all that stuff. And it's like I said, okay, when I was young, it's like, oh, but it's still cool because it was But I liked Batman as the comic because of what he stood for and things like that. And I just thought, fighting crime and, when the normal legal system isn't working. Yes, I know having that kind of thought process at that age was, probably, why is an 8-year-old thinking this?
Right. But the legal system is bogus.
Right, the legal system is broken. It's just a revolving door. We need to... It was, it's like, it's just, I think it was the whole Batman story. And even to this day, I would have to say he's probably my favorite character. There's other people that are cool. I like Deadpool. Yeah. But Deadpool was just simply, not saying anything against Marvel, it was a ripoff of Deathstroke.
Sure. Yeah.
But
literally, Wade Wilson, Slade Wilson.
But I think, but the thing is, Marvel did that intentionally.
Yeah.
With a lot of their characters. I mean, if you look at Iron Man, all he is Batman with a suit. With an iron suit. That's all it is to. That's what Iron Man is. So I respect him for that because, like I said, and I think that now the Marvel Studios have now made it more palpable for people to actually enjoy comic books. I mean, those like my age is like, we knew this already. Yeah. It's like now it's this. Everybody is so, oh well, look at this. This is all brand new. Yeah. And for us old heads, it's like, no, it's not. We've been, we've known about Iron Man forever,
yes.
and all that stuff. But I like the way the movies go now, But I know a lot of like fellow old heads were like saying that, well, when we, as far as how we know Batman, this is a new spin on Batman, and that's cool. I like it to be basically up to date, and that's cool. I understand that. That. Back when when I was little, it was a totally different thing. But it was like the whole Batman thing is that's been around for the longest, and like I said, Batman's not new. It's just repackaged now for a new audience, and I respect that. I mean, like the Batman 52 thing. It's kind of like a because correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't now Dick Grayson Batman, or is that now later?
I don't read a lot of DC comics, but I know that the new 52 is over. The whole thing has been rebooted to Rebirth.
Yeah.
So now I think
or is it Damian? Is Batman Damian is Batman because I know I read Deceased.
Yes.
And that's where Bruce gave Damian the bat suit because he was done. But now, so like I said, I know that's one of those kind of that it's outside of a different story arc.
Yeah.
And it's a different dimension. It's Earth 72 or something like that, which is cool to an extent, but then it's kind of like, okay, so which Earth are we talking about?
Right, what is the main continuity? Because I want to read that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I need a timeline, okay, I understand Batman gets older, and I could get it where Batman got older and he turns the business over to, he turns it over to his son. But don't make it where, well, because it happened on Earth 10, it's like, no, just stick with Earth 1 and just do the storyline from Earth 1 and don't do Earth whatever. And see, they're starting to do that now with Marvel, and I'm kind of
because you got 616 and then what is the MCU is 199999.
Yeah, and see to me it's very confusing, and I'm like, that's not to me. I have to work too hard to keep up with a story, and I don't like. I mean, I read comic books or anything like that as an escape, but don't make it where I got to think too hard to read a comic book.
Right.
Just say comic book page 1. This is happening.
Yes.
And then the end. You know. But not, but really, this only happened on Earth 52. But back on Earth, that's... what? I mean, like the whole Injustice series.
Yeah.
They were bringing people from the other Earth to this Earth.
Yeah,
And it was like, that's where you lost me. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, we're going to bring the Justice League from this Earth to defeat, because everybody... I mean, it was a good story up until they did that. Yeah. And I was like,
Well, this is just...
Yeah, that's just lazy writing.
That's
in the words of Deadpool, that's just lazy writing. It's like, so, that kind of... It was a good series while it was going, and then when they did that, I was like, now you lost me.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to be interested to see what the Injustice movie is going to look like. Because that's coming out. Yeah,
that's the animated.
The animated, yeah. So... I'm going to be real interested to see how they do that, and I want to see if they play it according to the comic, because it's not going to be Batman, Robin, Super Friends. No, it's going to be gritty Batman.
Superman burns out Shazam's eyes.
It's like, are they really going to show that? Right. And that's the one thing too, is that because I was, and just kind of switching gears when I read the the whole Walking Dead series. I followed that from 1 to whatever, I forgot what 199 or something like that. Yeah. But and then when they said the TV show was going to come out, I was like, oh man, is this going to be like the book?
Yeah.
And then it wasn't. And there were things that referenced the book, and which was kind of cool. There were certain things that had to happen in the TV show that happened in the book, or you just might as well not even call it Walking Dead.
Yeah.
When Glenn died, it had to be the way he died in the book. If you'd have done it any other way, you would have lost people. Mm-hmm. There were people that are dropping off after the first 3 seasons, and I get it because the writing had changed completely. It was totally different, and I liked the first 3 seasons. I still stuck on, held on. I'm still a fan of it now, but now that it's at 11, you can see that the writing is totally different, and they're like, But anyway, we'll get to that. We'll talk about that later. But my thing was getting back to the whole Injustice thing. I don't know if they can really do it justice to Injustice. So I don't think they can do it the way that the book is. And I mean, if they want to sit up there and try to do it to the way the video game is, because the video game is not necessarily the book either. Right. It's just an adaptation of the book, and again, it's an adaptation of a game, or the game is an adaptation of the book. Yeah. So I don't think the game can do it justice. Yeah. So it's like I'll be interested to see what it does. I'm going to be hopeful that it'll be a pretty good show or movie rather. I mean, like I said, when they did Dark Knight Returns, when they did that, that was straight from the comic book. Yep. Yeah, Frank and Miller. So. Yeah, and I have that, and so I watched that. I mean, when I saw it came out I was like this. And I was real hopeful that it was gonna stick straight to the book, and it did. Yeah. And so I was real cool with that. I would like to see them do Deceased.
Yeah, in animated show.
In an animated show.
I don't know if they'll do it with live action.
I don't think they'll do it. I don't think they'll do it. Although they may. Yeah. If they follow Marvel's lead, because they're supposed to be doing Tales from the Quantumverse or something like that. Yes. Now, if you go to the Marvel Zombies, that came from the Quantumverse. Yes. So I'm wondering if they're setting it up for that, that would be an interesting, way to do that. Tales from the Quantumverse. The other thing too with Tales from the Quantumverse, I hope they get into the Microverse, which is the Micronauts. Yes. That would be. I would love to see that. I would love to see the Microverse or the Micronauts brought into the Marvel universe. Yeah. Because that was when I followed that whole thing until Marvel stopped running it, and then it got picked up by an independent thing, but it wasn't the same. They kind of rehashed the story, and they kind of changed a few things. But the original Marvel version of the Micronauts was, oh man, I followed that from 1 until the end, and I would love to see Marvel do that. Would they be able to pull it off? I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, it's like if you were to do that Tales from the Quantum Verse, you could do a lot of things with that. You could do the Marvel zombies from that because that's according to even in the What If episode. It was basically they brought it back when he went looking for his mom or it was.
When he went for Janet.
Went looking for Janet. So he brought Janet. They brought Janet back, or Janet bit somebody, and it came back. Yeah, it came back, and that's how everybody got infected with it. Which was, I like the way they did that with What If. That was cool. Yeah. So I mean, who's to say that they can? There's a lot of things they could do with that. Yeah. So I'd love to see that. But.
So, as a comic book purist and whatnot, when you see Marvel make these movies and whatnot, how important is it to you, like, when they don't stick to this specific story? So, like, Civil War specifically, right? That's a much grander event in the comic books, and it starts for an entirely different reason.
Yeah, it does.
In the comics. So, when you see that in the movies, and it's not like, oh, that's not how it happened in the comic book, or you see just the smallest thing that didn't happen in the comic, does that bother you as a...
Does, because but we weren't being a purist. It's like, well, when they did Civil War, I was like, but I saw it was like Civil War. How are they going to do that whole, that whole series? Because it wasn't, a single movie event, and Civil War didn't start that way. No. So, it was. I was looking. I was like, okay, I understand they have to dilute it down for, I guess
runtime.
Runtime, and then it's like they got away with Infinity War and Endgame. That was a 2-movie thing. But I mean, if they were done Civil War, when they first said Civil War, I was like, wow, that's going to be a long series.
Yes.
So and then they was like, oh, it's just one movie, and then I was like, no.
You're right. Like that's
not what happens, and like there was an explosion.
Yes. That killed innocent people,
innocent people, yes, but that's not how Civil War started. No. So that whole thing, I was just, I was like, I was kind of disappointed because it wasn't like I was expecting the comic book version of it. Yeah. And it wasn't that. It was entertaining, yes, but it wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah.
So, that. So I mean, I know, when you're doing stuff with movie companies and you have budgets and and everything is CGI and all that stuff. Yeah. That costs money, so you can't do certain things in the movies that you say the book. So I get that, but as a purist, and like I say, as a purist, I can go back and read it all over again.
Exactly.
So if I want the original version, I can just go back and read it. But like I said, a lot of people, the purists, when you hear Civil War, if you're a Marvel Civil War, you're thinking the Civil War from the book. So and that's what you're expecting to get. And then when you don't, you're like, oh, well, that was anticlimactic,
right.
And so you just have to get, you take from it what you take from it. So I don't have a problem with it. It's entertaining to watch. I enjoyed it. I mean, I knew it wasn't the comic book version, but it was still entertaining. Yeah. And I still watch it to this. I mean, I'll turn on Disney Plus and Civil War. Let me watch it. Yeah. So it still has a replay value. Yeah. And it's all right, and that's the way it goes. So yeah.
So as you mentioned earlier, like you see how these storylines are changing. You see how it's the same repackaged thing before a new generation. As a person that was around when these comics first came out, like X-Men first coming out, Amazing Spider-Man, Batman, and these sort of things. How is it seeing how it's changed for this newer generation?
Well, I see it's changed because it's again, you have to deal with what was going on back then to what's going on now. So you have to change the story to be where it's something that people can relate to now. Yeah. If you were to sit there and do this X-Men based on what the storyline or what was going on back when it first came out. Back during when X-Men came out, it's like, and everybody probably knows, it was pretty much a way of addressing the civil rights issue. So, and then, how they, they have certain people representing certain things at that time. Well, nowadays you can't really, anybody that never grew up in that if you were to do that now, no one really gets that.
Yeah.
It's like they can't relate to it really. They can to an extent, but still, it's still a little bit more nebulous than back then. They're like, oh, I can really relate to this because I'm going through the struggle. Everything is unfair. It's unjust. Da, 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 da. Nowadays, there's still injustice. Not saying there's not injustice here. Nowadays.
Right.
But it's something that's a little bit more. And I mean, now if you notice, a lot of more comic books are becoming focusing on LB, the LB alphabet.
Exactly.
I'm not trying to sound politically incorrect. I don't remember how it all goes.
LGBTQIA, Run DMC, DMX.
See, the opinions expressed are not necessarily those.
Right.
So I mean, but like I said, that's the thing, that now comic books are written towards that. I mean, not, but they address that because that is the reality, now in our society right now. That that those kind of people are facing those kind of inequality and all that stuff. People of color are still going through the same inequality.
Yeah.
But it's like our inequality is put on the back seat, and their equality is more important than our inequality. And we've been,
we are just losing the Civil Rights Olympics.
I mean, we were at gold, then we dropped to silver. Now we're pretty much down to bronze now, and I'm like, wow, it's still, and it's funny, it's still the same issue, but it's now different, and it's different to where it's not. It's just I won't say they've watered it down, but it's not as, I can understand they relate to, now they're writing comics or anything in that to address that, because that's a major population, and as a major population that spends a lot of money. So you got to keep them happy, if you want to make money. I mean, again, the whole business part of it, you're in the business of selling comic books. Yeah. Well, we need to make it inclusive to folks that are going to still want to buy the comic books. So that's, you gotta adjust to your audience. So that's the thing too. Also, is that nowadays you see the comic books that are written now, and the storylines are a lot more grittier because it's more of an adult audience that buys comic books, which are now called graphic novels. Yes, there's a grown-up way of calling them comic books. So it's like, oh yes, I went to go get this comic book. No, it's like, I just read this graphic novel. Then it sounds like, oh, all right, then. But really, it's you're saying I read a comic book.
Right. Honestly, like, it's like, it's a graphic novel.
No, it's a comic book.
It's a comic.
It's pictures in a book with words and bubbles. It's a comic. It's a comic. so however you want to slice it.
Seeing how, what is this question I want to ask? So back in your day, won't say the exact day and time, because that's not important. Obviously, people got picked on for reading comic books, and bullied, and honestly, it was the same way when I was growing up. Yep. So now that you see this big acceptance and big, just, I guess, wave of people that are now, mostly because of Marvel Studios and the MCU, now embracing comic book culture, nerd culture, and just seeing how that's more accepted now. How does that make you feel as a nerd when it's like, yo, this was not accepted when I was young, but now everybody's a nerd now. Everyone wants to be a Blerd.
I feel validated now.
Okay.
I feel validated now. It's like, I was being a nerd. And so now, when it wasn't cool to be a nerd, now everybody finds that, oh, this is, it's like, now it's like, it justifies me. It tells myself, it's like, you weren't being weird. Right. This was something you like. Now everybody likes it. To me, they're playing catch up. Yeah. It's like, I've been here. I've been here, done that, got the T-shirt and the hat for it. Right. So you all are just playing catch up. So I'm like, okay, well, here, welcome to the culture, and this is where I'm your guide. Right. Through nerd culture. Yep. So that's just it. I mean, a lot of. I mean, it was interesting. Yesterday or a couple days ago. People came to get, my wife's dad to take him to respite care and all that. Yeah. The guy, when they're coming to get him, he looked into my workshop and saw my miniatures on tape. He's like, "You're in the 40K," which was real interesting because this is another grown man that plays with plastic soldiers, toy soldiers, puts them together, paints them, and all that stuff. And he just went, and he kind of forgot what he was there for.
It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, we got to get him, okay. But you got to go and do this. And it was like, well, here's my number. Give me a call. But it's cool because now it's like, I'm not the only one that likes this. I mean, you go on YouTube and you see different things. Like, okay, people are doing this. But when you actually meet somebody, everyday person, who's an ambulance driver or whatever, and he comes in and he sees, somebody's like, you do, he's like, wow, you're one of, you're one of us. Yes. Yes. Mild mannered, Todd Harris. By day, paints miniatures and plays war games at night. So, and it's cool to see other people that are like that. Yeah. Because then it feels like, maybe I'm just by myself and maybe, and some kids nowadays may feel that they're weird. No, you're not weird. No. Don't be ashamed of that kind of stuff. That's what you like. If that's what gives you your peace, yes, hold on to that. If reading comic books or drawing or anything like that gives you peace, hold on to that and keep doing that because that, with as crazy as this world is, you need an escape. And everybody honestly needs nerd culture, comic books, anything to get away from the madness that's going on. I mean, there's not a time that I go upstairs to my workroom for an hour, 2 hours, and just paint. And guess what? I get away from the world and everything that's going on. Yep. And then I can come back out and show my wife, it's like, look what I did. I did this. But see, the thing is, my wife is very supportive because she likes it too. Yep. And so it justifies, like, and if she was like, get that. And then I'd be like, well, dang, this is what I love to do. And but she does, she's very supportive of it, and she's getting into it slowly but surely. Yeah. And time is starting. She has a busy schedule. It's becoming more time permitted that she does it, but she still has a genuine interest. It isn't like, oh, that's like what you like to do, so let me learn. Let me do what you do. But it's one of those kind of things. I'm able to get away from it, and again to say, here I am, a man of 56 years and old, well, not an old man, but married, and he's still up here playing with toy soldiers. And so that's and it's okay. Some people may say, well, why do you do this? Like, that's what I like to do. Exactly. I mean, some people go and, I don't know, play pool or whatever, do whatever,
like that's normal, but me reading a comic.
Like I said, I read a comic. Okay, I'm not reading I'm not reading War and Peace or anything. Right. I'm still reading something. Yeah. And I'm getting something out of it. I mean, like I said, it may be a comic book or it's sci-fi or whatever, but it's things are written and storylines are written to reflect things that are going on. Yes. In society.
Regardless of what media. Like, I just happen to choose this media.
This media, right. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what's so cool about it. And like I said, now that, like I said, to see other people, and the people that are getting on board and all that stuff, again, it just validates what I was, how I felt when I was a kid and things like that. So it just validates all that. It's like, okay, you weren't weird. Right. So, and that's the thing. It's like a lot of people like to make people feel bad about something that's different because they don't understand it. And so that's, again, that's, so anybody out there, if you ever feel that way, don't feel that way. That is, if that's your piece, hold on to your piece.
Exactly. And that's why you got Black and Nerdy TV.
That's right.
The hub where all things black and nerdy, pop culture from the perspective of black people. And I'm glad you said that because a lot of people will be gatekeepers after going through that, like, I got bullied for this, and now y'all want to be a part of this. No, you can't join in on the market.
No, that's not. My thing is that, that's one of those kind of things that, no, you can't be a gatekeeper because then you're no better than the people that bullied you. Exactly. Now you get to be the bully. Nah, that's not cool. I mean, that doesn't solve anything. It just simply says, you can either accept it or don't accept it. Right. That's it. I mean, my thing is, like, this should be a culture where it's all welcoming. So what if, you're just now getting on board with it? That's all right. Come on and enjoy the ride. Exactly. That's all that I say is that, there's so many things that are out here now and it's just different possibilities. And I think that, just having this as a platform to be able to, expound on those kind of things and talk about it, and because like I said, people like that. A lot of people don't have those kind of things to talk about. You
couldn't talk about this with the homies at the basketball court.
Hey man, did you read that last Marvel issue of whatever? It's like, what? No, it's like, I mean, we're not there yet, right? And will we ever get there? Probably not, but who cares? I mean, but still, it's just it's good to have a platform. Yeah. To talk with like-minded people. Yes. That when you say this to people, they're like, what? You don't have to spend an hour explaining So, and even maybe sometimes if you do, then they're like, maybe I want to look into that. So, that's the thing is that, people, they're like, well, why do you paint these miniatures? And then I explain the background of what game they go to, and then there's a lot of the games, there's a narrative behind it. And people, they may get interested in it, and they'll be like, oh, okay, that's nice, and that's it.
Yeah.
But I was still able to tell somebody about it, and they make their own decision. So again, it's not to keep anything from anybody because what good does that do? Then it's that you know better than, like I said, you know better than the bully or the racist that wants to keep whoever out of their this is my little group and you can't be in it. No, that's not what it's for. That's not what it's for.
I always find it interesting. Me and my fiance, we were eating, I think, tacos one day. We were at this taco joint, and I was wearing I wasn't. My debit card has Darth Vader on it, so I gave the waitress the card to go pay, and she comes back. She's like, "Do or do not. There is no try." And I'm like, Yoda, Star Wars. You're a nerd. Mm-hmm. So it's just interesting to see people like that have this interest in comic book stuff, and like they're kind of just like closet nerds, but when you get around enough nerds, like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. I mean, it's kind of cool when you go and find somebody that's actually a nerd like you.
Yeah.
So it's that they're like, I know. They can really relate to what you're saying. Or you can say something, or they'll say something, and you're like, yes. Like in your instance, it's like,
yes, I see you are a woman of culture.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's kind of cool, because like I said, it's really cool to find somebody that's like-minded like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, my wife, she is now into, some of the stuff. And we'll sit here and watch Marvel, and there's some things I can explain to her because but I can still explain to her, and she's like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And Star Wars, I've explained the whole Star Wars and the whole canon switch and how a lot of people howled about that.
Right, Legends and
and see, I've not even watched Legends yet, and I probably don't know if I'm gonna watch it. Mm-hmm. Because I'm used to, I was back, I remember when Star Wars first came out, Episode 4, back in 1977.
Yes.
I was there, in line, going to see it at the movies, and went to see it several times after that. Mm-hmm. And I have watched every Star Wars since then.
Yep.
The newer ones, I'm like,
we just kind of just want to throw them away. But
well, I say it's Disney's fault.
Yes.
I'll say it. I don't care. People out there, if you can disagree with me, it went crappy when George Lucas sold the IP to Disney.
Yes.
And that's why I'm worried with Marvel.
Yes.
Because
especially with them bringing Deadpool and stuff like that.
Deadpool, you're going to water it down to the point that it's not Deadpool. Now it's going to be a sad, facsimile thereof. It's a PG-13 version of Deadpool.
Right.
That doesn't even
not
exist.
Deadpool then.
That's not Deadpool. That's Deathstroke. That's, if anything. But if you do that, it's that it will do the series or the IP injustice. Yeah. But I swear, with Star Wars, it was good. I mean, like I said, there were some things when Disney took over, I was just like, and then when they basically threw out the canon lead up to that, I mean, like I said, there were a lot of people that howled about it, and I was one of them. I mean, when they killed off Han Solo, I said, Han Solo didn't die in the books. He didn't die in the books. His son did not kill him.
No.
Basically, and actually, Han and Leia had twins, and Jaina was the one that killed Ben.
Yep.
See, nobody that would know that. It's like, because when everybody was the whole mystery with Rey, who is Rey? And when they did that, I was like, what?
Who is Rey?
She's the granddaughter of the Emperor? No, I was like, I was like, no. I was ready to throw things at the screen. I was like, are you kidding me? And then it was.
That's just lazy writing.
Yeah, and it really was. I was like, all right, now it's like, well, maybe it will be one of those kind of things that maybe they separated them at birth somehow again, like they did Luke and Leia. That would have made sense. And then she realized that, but then it would have to be, well, why does she not know who her,
right?
But it would have kind of made more sense that way. Yeah. But to just sit up and say, oh, it's Palpatine's granddaughter. And
he just lost my business.
And I mean, it's like, so I mean, but they really took a lot of the canon and just threw it in the toilet and said, "We don't care. We're Disney."
Yes.
And that's what I resent the most about Disney owning the franchise. I mean, look at Stormtroopers of the First Order. Now they look like Donald Duck.
Yes.
They do. I mean,
First Order.
Right, hi, boys and girls. I'm going to blast you. I mean, come on. I'm waiting for Mickey to be on.
Right.
Like, really?
Mickey is the emperor.
Right. Good. I mean, come on. I mean, it's just. I mean, I'm waiting to Yoda's like, oh, gorge.
Do or do not.
There's no try. Oh. No, really. I mean, I'm lost. Come on, you have really tainted the franchise. George Lucas, if you ever watch this, the biggest mistake you could have ever made was giving the franchise to Disney.
I'm sure he knows that now.
I'm sure he does, but I mean, my thing is, I'm sure he's very well paid.
Yep.
His kids are well paid. His grandkids are well paid. His anyone with the Lucas last name, will never have to work a day in their life if they never want to. So I mean, it was a business decision, but I mean, like I said, it would have been a lot more easier for Star Wars fans if Disney would not have just basically threw out all the canon.
Yeah.
And tried to make a brand new canon. It's like, no. I mean, because like I said, there's so many books where, I mean, like I said, they killed off Han, but really in the books, Chewbacca was the one that died.
Yes. Which they tried to do in the last one, but they were like, we can't commit to this. He was on another ship.
Yeah, it's like, I was like, so it's just like, again, it's lazy writing. I mean, they didn't follow, I mean, they basically got rid of all the fan novels and all, and that's what built the canon.
Yes.
Is that people writing books like Timothy Zahn and all those writers, they got permission from George Lucas. They say, hey, look, this is the book. And they went to George Lucas and said, okay, does this go with the canon? And George Lucas had to approve it before. But now it's like all those books that came out back then are no longer part of the Star Wars canon. And that's where a lot of people got upset and bailed on the Star Wars franchise. And I'm kind of like that too. I mean, like this thing, I've yet to see Legends, but it reminds me of the one Halo, which was called Legends? It was a DVD. It had a bunch of shorts. Animated shorts, and they did one that was done, and it's all they did an anime version of Halo and Master Chief, and that's what this looks like, and I'm like,
Visions.
That's Visions, and I'm looking at Legends. I was like, this looks just like that, and I wasn't sold on Vision, so it's like I'm like, no sale.
Yeah, no thanks.
So I'm like, I may watch one just to see, but I'm already have a preconceived notion that it's like, this is not. It's not gonna be.
Like one of the dudes has a lightsaber umbrella, and I'm just like,
I was like,
what is this?
I'm waiting for the penguin.
Mary Poppins is a Sith. Like this is stupid. This is dumb.
Come to the dark side with
a spoonful of sugar. Before we end the podcast, Dad got a package.
That's what I'm waiting for.
This is going to be the first time ever unboxing on camera, so...
hopefully it's what I think it is.
Right.
If it's something else, we'll have to edit it out.
Right. It's a bill!
How did that get in here?
So what is it supposed to be?
It's supposed to... Funny you should ask. It's a rule book for a game that I'm working or playing now. It's called Stargrave.
So for those that don't know, he's the reason that I like things like Hero Clicks. We recently came here and played Zombicide. It was pretty bleak. We all died. Everyone died at the end.
Yeah, Zombicide is those that don't know what Zombicide is. Basically a zombie horror game. It's a co-op game that you play with. You can play it solo, but it's more fun when you play with a group of people, and you have to work together to basically survive the zombie apocalypse. It's fun. I mean, I love that game. It came out on Kickstarter, and I don't know what got me into it, but when I got it, I was like, you know what? I love this IP, and I've got all the Zombicide games now that have come out. And they're coming out with a new one, but I don't know whether I've decided to commit to that one. It's Zombicide in the West. I was like,
all right, that's
yeah, it's like, all right, you're stretching it. I mean, I've got the one where, it's modern day zombie side, where it's like modern zombie side. Then there's the sci-fi zombie side, zombies in space.
Okay, this just sounds like Jason X, Jason in space. Jason.
The thing is, it's fun. It's a fun game. I like it, and they also have of course the medieval version of zombie side, which was.
So we have zombies speaking in Old English. Rawr, ye.
Yes. Yes. I want to eat ye brains. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Yes. It is.
And yes, this is the book. It's called. The book is called Quarantine 37.
Okay.
And it goes with a game system called Stargrave. Okay. And they also sent me some more miniatures.
Oh, of course, because that's what you need.
Because that's what you need. So yeah, this is the game. So this is it. It's called Quarantine 37.
Yes.
It basically takes place on an abandoned space station. And basically what it is that basically they were doing research and people died on it and came back to life, and there's aliens also running around on. So you have your choice of death, zombie or alien.
What would you choose, Pops?
Neither, but I think
if you have to be chased by one,
zombies, because you can get away from zombies.
Okay.
I mean, zombies, they aren't too smart.
Yeah, the xenomorphs.
Xenomorphs tend to, they're just more they'll kill you, and they can think how they want to kill you.
Yes.
So zombies, they just more, it's just, we're going to eat you, the end. But with the xenomorph, it's a thinking thing.
Yeah, and they have the little second tongue, and it looks like it takes a while to eat you.
Yeah, and then it's like they sit there, they look like they'd be more like connoisseurs. Oh yes, this liver is just
this
delicious.
It's a good year.
Or they're gonna cocoon you up into something.
Yep.
And then you get to carry
face hugger. And,
that's and see. But yeah, it came with the miniatures where you just this for the game, and it's pretty cool. Like I said, I put these together, and they're multi-pose, and like I said, the thing is that really the game system is what's called miniature agnostic. You can use any miniatures you want for the game. You don't have to have a specific. They just decided to do a specific miniature line, but you could use any. I could use any sci-fi miniatures with the game.
Let me show it to this camera over here. See, this is the game, just in case you didn't see it over here. Where's the light? There we go.
There you go.
So yeah, this is the game. So if you want to cop this, where can I get it from?
I got it from Osprey Books or Osprey Games. You can go to your local game store, and they probably. You also have if you want to play Stargrave, they have the core book, and that's the expansion to it.
Yes, this right here.
So you have to get the core books. Yep, you have to get the core book first. But it's a pretty easy rule system. It's a pretty fun game to play. This is basically the solo, if you want to play solo. Because of the pandemic, a lot of game companies have gone now solo versions of stuff. Because now you can't get people to, if you're supposed to be quarantining, you can't game. So
and what's crazy is I was just about to get into doing like Dungeons and Dragons and Warhammer. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And go to my local comic book store, and it was like, we closed it down. No more for you.
Well, I will say this is that now see and that's what got me started. I mean I just kind of switched gears of going to gaming thing. I got into gaming my first real gaming game was Dungeons and Dragons. When it's nothing like everybody sees now. I had the first edition of Dungeons and Dragons where there was no miniatures.
Oh, you just had your imagination?
Just had your imagination.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah, and that was that. You just basically had the Dungeons manual, the Dungeon Master's manual, and the various adventures. Yeah. And basically it was theater of the mind. And so that's the way you played it. Now, you could get figures for it. Now you can get figures for it. But back then, they really didn't have a lot of figures.
Yeah.
So you just kind of had, a lot of times they had standees or whatever, cardboard standees. But now the gaming, it's like there's, as far as I can see, you can find whatever miniature you want. And now that's the cool thing with 3D printing. You can print your miniatures now.
Yeah.
So that's been the recent thing in the gaming community is like, what is 3D printing going to do for gaming and all these miniature companies?
Yeah.
So that's one of those kind of things.
What were you in Dungeons and Dragons?
I was always a ranger.
Okay.
I was always the ranger. I very rarely was a magic user because they didn't have much in the way of hit points. So and then you level up so slow, so you got to rely on everybody else to keep you safe.
The white mage just gets.
It's just like okay, you got hit with a stone, you're dead. It was a rock. Everybody else is, that's the kind of hit points you had. It's like, so I was like, let me stick with the ranger, and I can carry a crossbow or whatever. I can protect myself, I can wear more armor.
Yeah.
I never understood why is it that magic users can't wear armor. I never understood that. It's like, was it gonna the armor keeps you from throwing a spell?
Maybe it makes. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe it makes you casting spells harder. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe we need to have you need to have a show on that. Understanding something about dungeons.
Oh, that's coming. I understand.
It's just one of those kind of things. I just never understood that. I was like, I can see, wearing plate mail. Yeah, that's kind of hard. Rainy day and you're not throwing any. Just if you go to abracadabra or whatever, poof. That you can't wear some leather armor or something like that. You can't wear chainmail. I don't see that as being,
I'm sure there's probably a reason, and somebody in the comments will probably tell us.
Somebody will tell us, and maybe they can explain. That's been a question that has been back when it first came out. We never understood why is it that you could not wear anything greater than maybe leather armor. That's about it. And so, but yeah, that was my first character. I always played rangers or paladin or something like that. And every now and then a thief, but for the most part, I stayed away from the magic users. Never, the cleric was the only other one that you could, where you could be a magic user and wear armor, which I didn't understand. But that was beyond me. So
I think a game that you would really like, I think it's called Dragon Age Inquisition. I think you would really like that game. It's a video game and it includes a lot of Dungeons and Dragons stuff. So.
Okay, and it's been a while since I've played Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, my gosh, I think the last time I played it, I was in high school. Ooh. That was the last time I played Dungeons and Dragons.
Moses.
But it was fun. I mean, we always had fun when we played, and like I said, we didn't have miniatures like they do now, and we definitely didn't have 3D printing, and so it was real cool. I liked it, and that's when I ended up getting into other things like 40K and all that stuff. Yeah. And now because of the newer games, which are more or less these are independent. Now they're with bigger publishing groups. Yeah. But this was an independent person that made that game, Stargrave, because he made another game before it. It was called Frostgrave, and it was medieval kind of like magic users battling each other.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I started doing the indie games because Games Workshop. I'm getting away from Games Workshop because they're overpriced and they change the rules every other year just about. So and they make it where you have to buy the rule book, then you have to buy these books that go along with the rule book in order to have the armies. That they may change the armies, and then next thing you know, the army that you had last year is no longer good. Is invalid this year. So after and it just got to the point. It's a money grab for them. That's all that they're doing. So now my thing is, that's been the big thing within that community that they're going after independent artists and all that stuff. This big IP battle. They're sending out NDAs and all that stuff, and it's crazy. I was like, really? It's toy soldiers. At the end of the day, it's toy soldiers, and you're being. I mean, I understand they got to protect their IP, but you're going after people that are creating lore and all that stuff to generate interest in your company or in your product, and you're going to go after them and tell them you can't do this anymore. Or what they're doing is that they're hiring these people, and then they pay them like minimum wage for their work, and it's like and a lot of these people are doing like small films, and that takes a lot of time and money to do that, and a lot of people are just doing it out of love. And I'm thinking myself, why are you mad? Because all it's doing is bringing people to your IP, and they're interested in it. It's like, well, I want to get to know more about it, and then you're gonna say, oh, well, you people can't do that anymore. Right. To me, that doesn't make sense, but I mean, maybe somewhere in the boardroom they get into this discussion. It's like, we got to go after these people. So that's the way that is. It's very. That's why I've gotten out of Warhammer 40K and all that stuff. I might still buy the miniatures, but I won't buy them from Games Workshop directly. I'll go on eBay. I said if they're gonna get my money, I'm gonna get it from somebody else that bought from Game Workshop. I won't buy from Game Workshop. I won't buy from them directly anymore. I don't do it. It's just that because I know again, when you're charging $50 or $60 for 5 miniatures, that's way too much.
That's highway robbery. It's price gouging.
That it is. And but it's supply and demand.
Yeah.
It's basically in my mind. So that's what they do. All you gotta do is when people sit and scream about it and say, well, you can fix that by just not buying the product anymore. That's all you do. That's how you fix that. Eventually, money talks. So, you don't have to necessarily boycott it. Or you just find another game system to get into, where you don't have to spend $100 in order to just start playing the game. It's like who's gonna want to do that? This game, you buy a book, you use whatever miniatures you want, and you can play.
Yeah.
You don't have to go out and buy a specific set of miniatures that go with this game. No, you don't have to do that. And I think that's a big mistake that Games Workshop is doing.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know what their board of directors are telling but it's about money. So
always.
So it is what it is.
Well, Dad, you have survived the interview segment. No questions about my childhood.
Yeah, see,
like
there's
that.
nothing like that. Okay,
Yes.
This was not an ambush video. Remember when?
No, that's the trash can incident. No, I'm not going.
Do you really want to get into the trash?
I'm not gonna embarrass myself like that. Like, that's just not what.
Just understand that could backfire in so
Yes.
many ways.
Yeah. So now it's time.
You really
for
want to know about this?
Right. Well, now it's time for the quick rapid questions segment. So
Okay.
I'm just gonna ask you some questions, this or that, and you just have to pick between the two. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So Marvel versus DC.
DC.
Iron Man versus Captain America.
Captain America.
Black Panther, War Machine.
Black Panther.
Wakanda or Zamunda.
Wakanda.
Magneto, Professor X.
Magneto.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Flight.
Okay. And last question. Name a character death in any medium that struck you the hardest.
Ooh. In any that struck me the hardest. Wow. Okay. I'm gonna go off from I'll say Glenn.
Okay.
In Walking Dead.
Okay.
That was the hardest one to actually see. It's like wow. Especially when he said to Maggie, "I'll find you."
Yeah.
I was like, wow. That was like, man. I was like. I just want to just go in the closet and cry. It's like, wow. I was like, that is just so deep. I was like, I'll come find you. That is just. I was like, man. That just made everybody just hate Negan more.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, it's like I could understand. Well, not understand what he did, but what Negan was doing was the same thing that Rick was doing, but he was just a little bit more over the top.
Yeah.
He's trying to protect people, yes, but bashing people's heads in. Just to prove a point, nah.
Yeah, nah.
That's
Can't
not,
get with it, my G.
yeah, so that was I think that was the hard, or that was the most gripping death in comic books that I think I've ever read. Was that?
All right. Well, that is it for the podcast. You can tell them where they can find you.
Well, I'm not on anything.
All right, good, cool. You cannot find my dad at all.
Well, you can find. Well, I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
I'm on Facebook. I am on Facebook. Again, I'm still an old-fashioned kind of guy. I've not gotten Instagram or anything like that. I don't have you guys to keep me hip on that stuff. So. Like I said, you all are the information generation, so
yes.
I just try to keep, I guess keep up. But
yes.
I just rely on you all to tell me what's new and what's not. And yes, Dad, that's acceptable, and no.
Yes.
So, but yeah, like I said, you can find me on Facebook. That's pretty much it. I probably, I just keep to myself. So
yes,
it's easier that way.
Yes, less problem, less drama.
That's what I said. I would say I am, but not an introvert. Introvert in training. I don't know. But so like I said, I think that again, you guys are the future, and with the technology of things, the way things are right here, it's going to be an interesting, whatever. I mean, but like I said, again, with being able to do the things you can do that you're doing like right now, we didn't have this back then. And like I said, use it to its full advantage because, information is power, knowledge is power, and however way you can get it out to people, and it's more accessible. You don't have to rely on a TV station because, TV station won't pick up something like this because, we don't know what the rating. Well, they're all concerned about ratings and advertising. Yeah. So I think this kind of platform, again, I've said earlier, is paramount to independent artists and everything else. So keep doing what you're doing, son. I'm very proud of you. I've always said I'm proud of you when you started doing this. So everybody out there, support this young black man. He's going to be the next Spike Lee. I'm telling you, that's going to be it. He's going to be the next Spike Lee. So again, and if not him, others like him, support. Just support the industry. Support people that are doing this because that's what they need. Yes. So that's my words of wisdom for the day.
Yes. And knowing is half the battle.
That's right.
But
G.I. Joe.
But yeah, be sure to support your local comic book shop as well.
Absolutely.
Comic book shops are very far and few in between.
It is. And they're becoming, like I said, they're going the way of the dodo. Because everything now is digital. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go to a comic book store to get
I got it right here.
See, so that's the thing that's going to be the new thing. I mean, that's the thing that's constantly changing is that, all of us that are used to going to comic book stores, those are becoming a thing of the past. Like hobby shops. There used to be a ton of hobby shops. Now everything is...
I used to hate when you would take us to the hobby shop. I'm like, I'm bored here. I want to go back to eat. But now, as a 25, 26-year-old man, I find myself at the hobby shop picking up HeroClix collectibles, looking at Warhammer. My fiance is tired of going to the freaking hobby shop that we go to.
But but like I said, it's just becoming one of those things that, when it was out, it's like, oh, yeah, like you said, oh, Dad, come on, can we go home? And
right.
now it's one of those things that now they're becoming few and far between because now everything is all, online.
Yeah.
With where, regardless of pandemic, it's now become more so because of the pandemic. But before the pandemic, everything was going towards digital. If you wanted to get that stuff, everything, most hobby shops have online stores. Yeah. So, that's just the wave of the future. And that's pretty much with everything that, nowadays. In a minute, we're going to be like what was that one Disney? Was it a Disney movie or a Pixar movie where they all got fat?
WALL-E.
WALL-E, yes. See,
yep.
We're heading that way. I'm telling you, we're gonna be fat roly polies on hover chairs, just rolling about.
Sadly, I believe it. That's
so. That's it's just one of those kind of things that you only do that if you choose to do that. So if you just basically get out and keep doing things and all that stuff. But yeah, it's one of those things, it's a bane and a boon to mankind. Technology is. So, it's what you do with it, like anything else. So, words of wisdom.
Yes. I have actually one more rapid fire question for you. The Wire or Breaking Bad?
Wire.
Okay. I'm with you on that. Well, that has been another episode of the BlerdCast, the podcast where black and creative meets nerdy and innovative, the blackest podcast in the multiverse. You can be sure to follow us on YouTube, Black and Nerdy TV. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Follow us on Facebook, Black and Nerdy TV. We have a bunch of content coming out that we are filming. I know we say that every time, but we actually are filming it, and it is coming out very soon, so we can't wait for you guys to see it. Follow me personally on Facebook, Trey Harris. And with that, we will see you guys next time. DJ and Marcus and Trey will be back next week because this is bi-weekly. So with that, I have been Trey.
And I have been Todd.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Support the industry.
Peace.
Peace.